Welcome back to the Alpha Insider. What a great way to start the week. I am Aaron and welcome you to the Alpha. Today, we will be milking Dr. Bak's brain for even more insights, how to grow our ambitions and success. What I really like about Dr. Bak is that he teaches mindset and how that can be applied at any level. Whether you are already on the top of your field looking to avoid plateauing or that you're the underdog looking to make you mark, you can leverage Dr. Bak's mindset to not waste any of your time. We are not covering only one book today, but a whole trilogy. Dr. Bak's Mastermind Series. Albert, Isabel, you have the floor.
All right, ready to unlock your inner superhero.
Or maybe your inner Shrek, you never know.
Haha, well, that's a thought. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Dr. Bak Nguyen and his Alpha Mastermind Series. We're cracking open 3 of his books to explore how these heroic and not so heroic archetypes actually end up shaping our lives. What do you think?
And trust me, it goes way deeper than just some, childhood fantasy or something. We're really talking about understanding these hidden forces that drive our actions, relationships, even, career choices and things like that.
Totally. So think back to your younger self for a second. I mean, who was that superhero you really connected with? Was it like Superman with that unwavering sense of justice? Or maybe someone like, I don't know, Batman lurking in the shadows?
It's so fascinating to me how these early fascinations actually speak to something much deeper within us, These aren't just random characters we kind of admire. They actually represent these fundamental archetypes, these universal patterns of behavior that resonate across cultures, even time periods.
It's true. These characters have been around forever.
Exactly. And Dr. Bak suggests that these archetypes almost become like blueprints, subtly shaping our identities and the choices that we make.
So it's like we're all kind of wearing these invisible costumes, influenced by these figures without even really realizing.
Precisely. Let's just take the Cinderella archetype, for instance.
Yeah.
Now, you might be thinking glass slippers and fairy godmothers and all that.
It's the classic fairy tale for sure.
Yeah, but it goes beyond that, really. It actually speaks to this kind of innate desire for transformation, for that rags to riches story that we all love. And think about how often you actually encounter this narrative playing out in your own life.
Oh, all the time. Every makeover show, every self-improvement ad that's promising a new you, it's all tapping into that Cinderella archetype, isn't it?
Exactly. Or even those online gurus selling the dream of overnight success and stuff. Dr. Bak would argue that they're very cleverly playing on that deep-seated desire for a quick and magical transformation, a shortcut to our happily ever after.
It's like those fairy tales weren't just bedtime stories. They were embedding these powerful archetypes into our subconscious.
Mm.
Okay, so if Cinderella is one blueprint, what about the Batman complex?
Ah, yes, the Batman complex. This one is particularly relevant in today's world, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah.
With how obsessed we are with image and identity and all that. It's that urge to kind of reinvent ourselves, to craft a persona that might be different from our everyday selves.
Okay, so not literally donning a mask and cape.
No, not literally.
But more how we curate our online profiles. We're all guilty of that to some extent, I think.
Absolutely. We choose the most flattering photos, highlight certain achievements, maybe even adopt a different tone of voice online.
100%.
And, Dr. Bak suggests there's actually a reason we do this.
Yeah.
It's that Batman complex at play.
Okay.
We're drawn to the idea of a secret identity, a chance to kind of explore different facets of ourselves, especially in a world where, let's be honest, we're constantly being judged.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing, this desire to present a certain image or explore these different sides of ourselves.
Exactly. Just like Bruce Wayne uses his Batman persona for good, right? We can use these online platforms to connect with, like-minded people or advocate for causes we care about, or even just, experiment with different aspects of our personalities.
It's about being self-aware.
The key, as Dr. Bak emphasizes, is being conscious of these masks we wear. What do they represent and why do we choose to put them on?
It's funny you mentioned that whole crafting a persona thing and being aware of the masks we wear, because Dr. Bak actually shares a really relatable story in his book. It's about how he tried to emulate James Bond.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That story always makes me laugh.
It's such a good example of how these archetypes can lead us down some pretty interesting paths.
For sure.
So tell me more about it. What happened with Dr. Bak and his James Bond aspirations?
Okay, so picture this, right? Imagine him spending years cultivating this smooth, sophisticated, James Bond-esque image. He's got the gadgets, he's got the attire, even like the martini orders down pat.
Okay, I can see it now. He's totally rocking the 007 vibe.
Exactly. But then there's this moment where he realizes it's just not authentically him. Like, in fact, he has this hilarious epiphany that he's much more of a Shrek than a Bond.
Wait, Shrek, as in like the big green ogre?
The one and only.
Wow.
This is really like surprising and humbling moment for him, you know? At first, he's a bit thrown by it, understandably. But as he kind of digs a little deeper, he starts to see the brilliance in actually embodying like the Shrek archetype.
Okay, now you've got me intrigued. How does Shrek suddenly become like the more appealing archetype?
Well, think about it. Shrek, despite his, rough edges and, let's be honest, his maybe less than refined demeanor, he's totally comfortable with who he is.
That's true.
He owns his, ogreness, so to speak. He doesn't care about fitting in. And honestly, that is incredibly powerful.
He really challenges all of our perceptions of what's considered, desirable or attractive.
Exactly. And this is where I think Dr. Bak's message really starts to resonate. It's not about striving for some unattainable, perfect ideal. It's more about embracing our authentic selves. Like even those parts that we might consider a bit Shrek-like.
Yeah.
That's where true confidence and magnetism come from.
So how do we actually tap into that, this idea of embracing our inner Shrek?
I think it starts with, recognizing those masks that we wear, just like we were talking about earlier. What are those personas we're trying to project? And are they actually aligned with who we are at our core?
It's about being honest with ourselves, right? Acknowledging those parts of ourselves that we maybe try to hide or downplay.
Precisely. It's about having that courage to kind of step back and say, you know what, this is me, flaws and all, and finding the strength and the freedom in that authenticity. And what's really interesting? Dr. Bak actually believes that this self-acceptance thing is a crucial step in actually harnessing what he calls momentum.
Now, this is sounding like we're moving beyond just archetypes and into something and even more powerful. So you're saying there's a connection between accepting our inner Shrek and this idea of momentum.
It's all about energy, really.
Okay.
You see, Dr. Bak's whole idea of momentum, it's not about, just running faster or pushing harder. It's more about tapping into the energy of our authentic selves. That raw, unfiltered energy that maybe we've kind of brushed aside over time. Trying to fit in or achieve some idealized version of success that's not really us.
So it's that inner Shrek energy actually becomes fuel for, something bigger.
Exactly. He talks about how our wannabe years, those early days when we dreamed of being, I don't know, astronauts or superheroes or whatever it was, those times were actually filled with this pure, almost reckless form of momentum. We were driven by passion, not fear of failure or judgment from others.
Right, but how do we actually recapture that, though? Because, life has a way of, throwing a few curveballs as we get older.
And that's where I think Dr. Bak's insights become, really practical and useful. He gives us these three, really solid steps to actually supercharge our momentum.
Okay, I like it. Lay it on me. What's step one?
First, reconnect with that wannabe energy. What were you really passionate about? Before the world told you to kind of play it safe and be realistic and all that.
Okay, so tap back into those early passions.
Exactly.
What's next?
View resistance as fuel.
Ooh.
Every time someone doubts you, every time you hit an obstacle, see it as a chance to, prove them wrong. But more importantly, to prove to yourself that you're capable of way more than you think.
I love that. Turning those doubts into, rocket fuel.
Exactly.
Okay, what's the third step?
And finally, celebrate your wins, no matter how small they might seem.
Oh, I like that a lot.
Every little victory, every milestone, it all adds to that momentum. Keeps you moving forward, keeps that confidence building.
It's about recognizing those small wins along the way and keeping that energy going. But it also sounds like Dr. Bak's overall vision goes beyond just, personal achievement, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. He talks about becoming what he calls a center of gravity.
Yeah.
Someone who's so aligned with their purpose, so energized by their own momentum, that they naturally kind of draw in allies and mentors and even resources, to tackle bigger challenges.
So it's about leveraging that personal momentum to make a real difference in the world around us.
Exactly. And the best part is Dr. Bak, totally leads by example with this stuff. He talks about this time he rallied a whole team of economists to try and tackle hyperinflation, which, is a problem that had baffled experts for years. And, he didn't even have all the answers, but it was his center of gravity energy,
Yeah.
that passion, that clear purpose. It drew people in. It sparked a movement.
It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yes, exactly.
It's so true. He brings people along on that journey.
100%. And honestly, I think that's like what's so inspiring about his whole message. It's not just about, finding your own success. It's about using your unique strengths, your experiences, everything that makes you you to make the world, just a little bit brighter.
A little more Shrek-tastic, you might say.
Oh, exactly.
Well, as we start to, wrap up this deep dive into the world of Dr. Bak and his work, what's like the one thing you really want our listeners to take away from all of this?
Just remember those archetypes we talked about, right? Cinderella, Batman, even Shrek. They're not just these like fixed identities, these boxes we have to squeeze ourselves into. Dr. Bak's message, I think, is all about, finding your way to combine those archetypes, to kind of create this unique blueprint for success that is authentically you. Who knows? Maybe it's your inner Shrek, fueled by that unstoppable momentum and a Batman-like commitment to like positive change.
Yeah.
That's what unlocks your true potential.
I love that. That's something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.
Everyone has his or her own legend. That is so powerful. Thank you, Dr. Bak. Thank you, thank you. I would definitively start reading this trilogy. Mastermind Volumes 1, 2, and 3. They can be found on Amazon Paperback, Amazon Kindle, and Apple Books internationally. Order your copy today and start rising your legend. Next Thursday, we will be discovering another author, William Bak, Dr. Bak's son, who at 14 has already co-signed 70 books with his dad, one solo book. Can't wait to discover William, the young prodigy. This is the Alpha Insider Show with your hosts, Albert and Isabel, on air every Monday and Thursday at AM. I am Aaron. Welcome to the Alpha.